This is a kago, a traditional Japanese taxi used for centuries. The model shown here is a basic one for commoners. One bearer is lacing up his straw sandals, a standard type of footwear. On the opposite side, we can see another bearer, distinguished by the finely rendered hair under his arm. As this is a print rather than a painting, engravers carve out the hairs one by one. This shows their exceptional technical skill. The scene is set in Hodogaya, a bustling post town on the Tōkaidō highway that connected Edo, present-day Tokyo, with the royal capital of Kyoto. Lined with shady trees, this highway was a vital route for travelers. Hokusai subtly includes Mount Fuji, visible between the trees, to evoke a nostalgic atmosphere along this historic road. At the center of the composition, a stable hand glances back at Mount Fuji, gently guiding the viewer's gaze toward the iconic peak. Notably, the horse bears the crest of Eijudo, the publishing house behind this print, an early form of branding. On the right, a Komuso monk walks along the road. They can be recognized by their bamboo flutes, shakuhachi, and the straw hats that fully conceal their faces. Interestingly, it is said that some samurai who had committed crimes escaped punishment by joining the Komuso. It's not hard to imagine that some abused both the system and the anonymity. This region was associated with Zen temples, which served as important centers for such wandering monks or samurais. The monk's hat, known as the Komuso gasa or Tengai gasa, was traditionally worn by monks. Although a similar hat, the Fukuyama gasa, was also in use. This type of hat often evokes the image of the wandering samurai rather than the ascetic monk. 60 years after this print was created, in 1891, the French painter Claude Monet produced his popular series. It is said that this series was influenced by Hokusai's print. As the Industrial Revolution accelerated globalization, artistic inspiration began to travel, building unexpected cultural bridges between Japan and the West. A lot of names. The novelist Bakin, who collaborated with Hokusai on some of his famous works, once made an intriguing remark: no one had ever changed houses or names as often as Hokusai. Indeed, Hokusai used over 30 different names throughout his lifetime. Little is known about Hokusai's early years. His childhood name was Takataro, later changed to Kawamura Tetsuzo. According to one account, he was adopted at the age of 4 and took the name Nakajima Hachiemon. At the age of 18, he joined the Katsukawa Ha School, a prominent Ukiyo-e group. Later he switched to the Rinpa School, known for its refined, courtly aesthetics and classical themes. After mastering both, Hokusai forged his own path and produced a staggering amount of work, alongside a long list of pseudonyms. For his foray into erotic prints, he adopted names such as Shishiki Gonko and Tetsubo Nuranura. He was probably not consistent in his use of names. For instance, when publishing Hokusai manga, also known as the Hokusai sketches, he had mostly used by the name Taito. Popular theories suggest that Hokusai's frequent name changes were partly a financial strategy, charging a fee for the use of his famous pseudonyms, or perhaps a reflection of his tendency towards self-concealment. His prolific career is often divided into 6 major phases, each marked by a different name: Shunro, Sori, Hokusai, Taito, Ietsu, and Manji. The 36 Views of Mount Fuji series was produced during his Ietsu period, by which time he had already been active for 50 years. Remarkably, he would continue to create for nearly 2 more decades. Now, let us return to the 36 Views of Mount Fuji, as we continue our journey along the Tōkaidō Highway. This spot is well known for its scenic views of Mount Fuji. As the name suggests, Shichirihama is a long sandy beach. Shichiri refers to a traditional unit of measurement, roughly 27 kilometers. In reality, though, the beach is only about 3 kilometers long. In the foreground stands Mount Kamakura, with a small beachside village nestled at its base. To the left, Enoshima Island in Sagami Bay completes the scene. Many works in the series, including this one, were made using a distinctive shade of blue. This was thanks to the arrival of a new pigment, Prussian Blue. It was discovered in early 18th century Germany, during an attempt to create red pigment, and later found its way to Japan. Hokusai and other artists at the time used it to create new and exciting artworks. One famous example is the Great Wave. A traditional vegetable-based blue tended to fade and lacked saturation. The Prussian Blue, on the other hand, was vibrant, highly light-fast, water-soluble, and produced a wide range of contrasts enabling smooth gradations. This new color, unlike anything seen before, helped start an artistic revolution. The popularity of this blue color grew during a difficult time. A serious famine led the shogunate to introduce strict rules to help save resources. The restrictions extended to the use of materials, including the number of colors in polychrome prints. Within these restrictions, the blue flourished and gained recognition under various names: Hokusai Blue, Hiroshige Blue, named after the artists who used it, and later, Japan Blue. Today, it's connected to the mainland by a bridge. But in earlier times, visitors would cross a sandbar that appeared at low tide, a moment captured in this print. Enoshima Island has long been a popular destination for travelers. Its close proximity to Edo City made it a day's walk. Hokusai's 36 Views of Mount Fuji is believed to have inspired 19th-century travelers and served as a kind of visual travel guide for ordinary people. The road leading to the island was lined with inns and souvenir shops, bustling with visitors. On the island is a shrine dedicated to Benzai Ten. Originally the Hindu goddess Sarasvati, she was incorporated into Buddhism and came to be worshipped in Japan as the goddess of water, music, and learning. In the 53 stations of the Tōkaidō, the Ukiyo-e master Hiroshige portrayed blind travelers on a pilgrimage to Enoshima. At that time, masseurs and biwa lute players were among the few recognized professions for the blind. Their professions were closely related to the belief in Benzai Ten, the goddess of music and learning. For this reason, many blind pilgrims made their way to the island. It's fascinating to see how a Hindu goddess was integrated into Buddhism and later enshrined at a Shinto shrine. Typically, Buddhas are worshipped in temples and deities in Shinto shrines, but this formal division only began during the modernization period. For more than 1,000 years before that, the boundaries between Buddhism and Shinto were blurred. Even today, Japan's religious landscape reflects this mix. One report lists 84 million Buddhists and 88 million Shinto adherents, totaling 172 million, far more than Japan's population of 126 million. This suggests that many people identify with both traditions. However, when asked directly, "Do you follow a religion?" the responses shift. 49.4% is no religion, 34% is Buddhism, 2.7% is Shinto, 0.7% is Protestant, and 0.2% is Catholic. In Japan, religion is often more cultural than doctrinal. For instance, although only about 1% of the population identifies as Christian, 57% of weddings are held in a Christian style. Similarly, while 34% claim Buddhism as their religion, 88.2% of funerals follow Buddhist rites. When asked, "What annual events did you celebrate last year?" respondents answered, 73.3% is family birthdays, 64.2% is New Year's shrine visit, and 53.9% is Christmas. Since Christmas is widely celebrated in Japan regardless of religious background, there's little debate over whether to say Merry Christmas or Happy Holidays. In this way, Japan continues to embrace a distinctive blend of religious traditions. The title suggests the scene is set near Hiratsuka, a post town along the Tōkaidō Highway. The various figures depicted offer a glimpse into daily life during the Edo period. Crossing the bridge are a father and son, likely Rokujirokubu pilgrims. These devout travelers visited 66 temples to deliver sutras, carrying large backpacks that often held Buddhist statues. At the center of the print stands a statue of Fudomyo-o, a fierce Buddhist deity derived from the Hindu god Shiva. Statues of this guardian figure can be found throughout Japan. Hanging from a line are narokos, wooden clappers traditionally used in agriculture to scare away birds that threaten crops. To the right, a man displays the crest of a publishing house, perhaps a subtle reference to the print's own production. Beside him stands a figure dressed in the distinctive robes of a mountain ascetic. He practices Shugendo, a syncretic faith blending Shinto, Buddhism, Taoism, and native mountain worship. He is likely on a pilgrimage to the Oyama of Furi shrine. On the left, a peddler balances containers of grain suspended from shoulder poles. The tool in his hand is intriguing, but I was unable to determine its name and purpose. If you recognize it, please share your insights in the comments. Nearby, a woman walks forward holding a hoe, balancing a small bundle, perhaps her lunch, on her head. She appears to be on her way to the fields for a day of work. In the river below, a fisherman collects shijimi clams. Though tiny, about the size of a fingernail, these clams are rich in succinic acid, a natural umami compound, making them a prized ingredient in soup. Though the exact location remains unclear, this painting is believed to depict a rest stop between Oizo and Odawara, both towns situated along the historic Tōkaidō highway. It portrays 5 cranes gathered by the water's edge and 2 soaring above, set against the backdrop of Mount Fuji. The crane, a large migratory bird, boasts a wingspan exceeding 2 meters. Historically regarded as a luxury delicacy by the elite, cranes were nonetheless described as having unremarkable flavor. The species depicted here was esteemed more for its aesthetic presence than its culinary value. In the Edo period, certain areas near the city were designated as crane sanctuaries. These zones were enclosed and protected from human intrusion, with the sole exception of falconry conducted by the shogun himself. Today, the crane is classified as endangered due to significant population decline. One of the painting's most distinctive qualities lies in its use of auspicious symbolism. Mount Fuji and cranes are incorporated to evoke themes of prosperity, longevity, and conjugal harmony. Other traditional symbolic pairings include the crane and turtle, the carp and waterfall, the triad of Mount Fuji, hawk, and eggplant, and the trio of pine, bamboo, and plum, each embodying deep-rooted cultural resonance. This scene unfolds in the mountains of Hakone. Amid the silent, mist-shrouded landscape, Lake Ashi lies still, undisturbed by even the faintest ripple. At its center stands the solemn Hakone shrine, rendered by Hokusai with an unusual sense of calm. Those familiar with his bold, dynamic compositions may find this piece unexpectedly subdued, but that is no oversight. Rather, it reflects a perspective more familiar to viewers of the Edo period than to us today. The Hakone shrine is dedicated to the goddess, Konohana no Tsukuyohime. In mythology, she is known for giving birth amidst flames, an act that earned her reverence as the goddess of fire and safe childbirth. Over time, she also came to be worshipped as a deity who calms the eruptions of Mount Fuji. As noted in a previous episode, the volcano had erupted only a century earlier, making the threat of another eruption a source of anxiety. 36 Views of Mount Fuji was created in this social context, further deepening public fascination with the sacred mountain. Her name, Konohana no Tsukuyohime, captures her essence like a blossoming flower. According to legend, anyone who marries her will flourish like a flower. She had a sister, Iwanagahime, whose name symbolizes stone and represents longevity. Both sisters were offered in marriage to the deity, Ninigi, the grandson of the supreme goddess Amaterasu. However, he chose only Konohana no Tsukuyohime for her beauty, rejecting Iwanagahime. As a result, their descendants, humankind, lost the gift of divine longevity. This story became a mythological explanation for the transient nature of human existence. Speaking of Sakuya, some may be reminded of Sukuna, the protagonist of the 2020 rice farming action game Sukuna, of Rice and Ruin. Despite the similar name, the character is based on a different deity. This painting depicts Katakura, now part of Shizuoka Prefecture. For many years, the exact location of Katakura remained unclear. Fortunately, recent research into historical records has identified a specific site. Whether Hokusai observed the scene firsthand remains unknown. The composition captures a region renowned for its green tea cultivation. Women are shown carefully plucking fresh tea buds, a task traditionally assigned to women, while men collect the harvested leaves in large baskets. The leaves are then taken to a nearby hut for steaming, a process unique to green tea that halts fermentation and preserves both its vivid color and delicate flavor. The finished tea is categorized into different grades depending on the harvest time and level of processing. This work captures a view of Mount Fuji from the village of Ono, located between the post towns of Hara and Yoshiwara along the Tōkaidō Highway. The area was a well-known vantage point for viewing the iconic mountain. In the scene, oxen carry bundles of reeds as farmers return from the marshlands. The man pulling the ox mimics the posture of the woman ahead of him, their playful gestures conveying the peaceful rhythm of rural life. The growing popularity of landscape prints during this period can partly be attributed to artistic restrictions imposed by the authorities. Depictions of samurai risked being seen as political commentary, while images of beautiful women were often criticized as morally inappropriate. By focusing on nature and everyday life, Hokusai navigated these constraints and helped to establish landscape painting as a respected genre in ukiyo-e art. Hokusai versus Hiroshige. Painted around 1834, when Hokusai was 74 years old, his works had a profound impact. Not long after, Itakuwa Hiroshige, then 37, released a landscape series that is said to have surpassed Hokusai's in circulation. This print belongs to that series. It may seem like a coincidence, but both artists depicted the same location, the same subject, Mount Fuji, and even used a similar composition. The subsequent work probably followed Hokusai's. In my opinion, Hiroshige intentionally invited comparison, as if to declare, I am better than Hokusai. Perhaps this competitive spirit was shaped by his identity as a native of Edo, or even by his earlier life as a firefighter, an occupation that likely fostered resilience. After 2 decades in relative obscurity, Hiroshige finally achieved widespread recognition with the 53 Stations of the Tōkaidō, the series to which this print belongs.
Help motivate us to make more videos by liking and subscribing. Thank you for watching!